At 24 minutes after the hour, we turn to Dr. Don Clark, who's visiting from Garden Valley, Texas. He does that just about every Tuesday morning, and we learn stuff from Dr. Don. Don is a biochemist, a member of the Board of Creation Moments, and a longtime friend of the station. And today, Don, a whole new era. You have to turn into a geologist today, I think.
I'd like to learn. I mean, that's good.
Well, you're good at it. Water everywhere, or maybe not. The Ogallala Aquifer. This aquifer provides about 30% of the groundwater used for irrigation in the U.S. It stretches from Texas northward all the way up to South Dakota. And the thing is, we're using more water than is being used to replenish the aquifer. It's down like 200 feet. And they have measurement devices that tell us we're losing water, and we're going to have to find other ways to replenish that water. What does this do? I can't picture what an aquifer looks like. Is it a river? Is it bound up in rocks? Is it?
The best way to picture it, we have across the United States, we've got caverns, for example, right? Yeah. And you could go to Carlsbad Cavern and various other caverns, and these were underground caves and systems that once were filled with water. And so if you tapped into that, if it was filled with water, that would be an aquifer. And an aquifer usually, there is flowing water in the aquifer usually, and it, flowing from north to south. And
wait a second. How do we know that? I mean, it goes from South Dakota to Texas, so it's like a river flowing south?
There is a major aquifer, for example, in Florida. And when I was living in Florida, you could go to some of the open areas where there was it looked like a pond, but it was actually a hole in the ground that went to the aquifer.
So we're talking about like a spring, a natural spring?
A natural spring.
Ah, okay.
And there were certain areas when you went and swam in this, it was very deep, and some people explored the caves that were under there, and some people lost their lives because they got lost and couldn't get out. But
what I was thinking, if there's water flowing in an aquifer, there must be an outlet somewhere, which could be a system of springs for maybe hundreds of miles, or because we have here in Harker Heights, Texas, springs near the top of the hill that constantly leak water out onto the streets. Right. And the law is you can't tamper with that. You can't block it. You can't stop it. So it's always wet. And that drives some homeowners nuts here. I also remember a time when I was visiting in Kentucky, talking with a local Kentuckian there, and we were talking about racehorses and all the horse ranches around. And he said, why this is such a great place for horses is because of the water underground trapped in the limestone. It tends to make for healthier animals.
Cleaner water, and limestone being basic. Mm-hmm. It would be basic water versus acidic water.
Well, there are aquifers all over, apparently.
There are. This is a major one. I mean, as you said, it's extremely, extremely large. It covers a lot of area, and a lot of that area is farmland. And some of the area here in Texas is oil-producing land as well, and especially around Midland and that area.
There's the Permian Basin, yeah.
And so, which is a little south of the aquifer, but the aquifer still covers that area as well. Now, mentioned in this article was the Texas Panhandle, and the cotton growing areas of the Texas Panhandle. Now, I have an interest in that area, and the Texas wine industry has a great interest in that area because that's where the major vineyards are in that area, and they tap into the same aquifer. So whatever's happening to that aquifer is it as it loses volume of water, as more and more people suck out from it, for example, will affect the vineyards that are there, not only the cotton producing industry, all of that, all that area. So, several farmers realize that, hey, we can make more money out of selling grapes than we can out of selling cotton.
Mhm.
And so there are, thousands of acres now have been
Same thing
turned.
happened in North Carolina. Out in western North Carolina, it used to be tobacco farms all over the place.
Mm,
And once the prices dropped, people started selling their tobacco farms to folks coming down from New York and up in New England who were starting vineyards. And it's now a wine growing center.
hmm
So,
Now,
but
I don't think
it's
this is going to
there was
happen.
water there, and the
Yeah, there
water's
was
there.
water
Yeah.
there, and where there's water, because vines take a lot of water.
Mhm.
I don't know how much cotton takes, how much water cotton takes, but I would imagine it would take quite a bit, especially if you're irrigating thousands and thousands upon acres. And yeah, so this is a threat, obviously, to the farming community.
So we either have to use less or we have to find more water to get into the aquifer. Now, how does water get into the aquifer?
Well, normally it's natural rainfall.
Okay.
So it it has to rain, and if you have noticed this year, we haven't had much rain. Now, South Texas has been deluged by rain. The past couple of weeks, actually. We got maybe 3 inches, maybe 2 inches where we are, but some areas got, 5 inches or more. And raining all of a sudden, as opposed to over a period of time, the rain just washes off and, goes through the rivers and eventually gets to the Gulf of Mexico. So it's not very useful. It's got to stay on the ground for a period of time to saturate the ground, and then it filters down into the aquifers and starts filling it up. But in the drought season, it makes this problem worse because obviously, if it's not raining, the replacement of the water in the aquifer is not happening. And as we draw more and more out of it, you have to drill deeper and deeper wells. And those areas where the aquifer is not as deep as some areas. For example, here in Texas, it could be only 50 feet, below the surface, which is easy to pull out, but um, that might be part of some of the areas that dry up first, and so it could be a major problem for here in Texas in particular, but other parts of the country as well. And so we need to solve this problem. And one of the solutions to solve the problem, and I don't think we came to any conclusion as to what produced water from a oil field
Mhm. Yeah, I'm kinda confused on that one.
actually means, but in at least in Texas here, we don't do fracking to the best of my knowledge, but we do oil production the old-fashioned way, which is obviously when you first drill not it's not obvious, but when you first drill an oil well, back, in the 30s, for example, when they were first exploring oil and discovering that, hey, Texas has oil, and we have uh, places here that have oil rigs all over the place. Not the rigs, but the pumps. For example, Van, Texas has pumps all throughout the community, still pumping oil. But when you first drill into a new area, it's got pressure behind it, and you've seen old pictures or old movies of geysers, oil geysers from the drilling rigs, because the oil pressure was so great. It took them a while to uh, find ways of containing it. And so the oil just spewed all over the place. Um, but once that kind of subsides and there's less pressure needed to pump. I mean, you didn't need pumps or anything. There was natural pressure. But once that subsides, you've got to create the pressure. And one of the ways of creating the pressure, um, the oil industry found, was let's pump mud down into the ground to force the oil up. And so that's what they did, and that's what they do. There's uh, a whole technology of muds, different types, viscosities, depending on the type of oil that you have and the geology of the structure you're going into. Will determine what type of mud that you use. And most of the mud is based on bentonite clay, but it takes water. So to make your mud, you got to have the the earth, basically the bentonite clay, and you mix that with water to a certain percentage, and then you pump that down, and then you can have continuous oil coming out of your oil well. Um,
So
and
perhaps this is about, and they're talking about desalination techniques, using those desalination techniques to reclaim some of that water you mentioned, and then return it to the aquifer.
And I don't know that much about this particular industry, but there could be pockets of saline, that is, water, salty water down in the earth. And obviously there were uh, at some time, because we have a town called Saline. We got salt beds all over the place, and you can go downtown Saline and you can see a salt house built with blocks of salt. So obviously, this area was covered with water
Well, there are salt
back in our
mines through
history.
through areas of the Midwest. I think Ohio and other where they're actually mining salt. So that
Yeah.
had to be part of connected to the aquifer somehow.
Well, and connected to the sea, because the sea is salty, and eventually, ultimately, that was covered with seawater, and the seawater dried up, just like in the Bonneville salt flats, that was covered by ocean at one point in time, and it dried up and it produced the salt that's there. And so it could be that some of these pockets of oil are also, they have water um, under them, because oil floats on water. And so when you're pumping out the water, you may be getting some of this uh, getting some of this water, salty water out. And as you get the salty water out, perhaps you could use that salty water, desalinate it, and produce fresh water. Now, it's interesting that the city of Corpus Christi um, had a project on the books, or at least a proposed project, because they're kind of running out of fresh water as well, to say, well, let's just take salty water from the Gulf of Mexico, desalinate it, and produce municipal water, as well as water for other areas, around us. And the great city council turned the project down, because it was going to be costly, and but there was a grant program to help fund such a project, and
Federal
they
money.
turned they turned the grant down. So
Mm.
when bureaucrats get
Huh.
involved, doing the right thing at the right time, often it passes people by. And so this opportunity has been missed. And so now, if when they run out of water, Of course, desalinated water is going to cost more. It's
Well, it
not
it
like
sounds
you
like water reclaimed from the oil industry then wouldn't go back into the aquifer, but would rather be salvaged in reservoirs for irrigation systems to tap into, as
Yeah,
opposed to
that's
using
what it
water
sounds
directly from
like.
the
It's
aquifer.
it's
Yeah.
it's really hard to tell from the article because
Mm.
it's pretty brief, the description that's there, but that would be a logical assumption that if you're gonna go through the effort of desalinating it, then you could use it for, crop production as well as, even maybe drinking water if you've purified it enough, cleaned it up enough. Now, the other one of the other problems with, using a lot of this underground water is that it's got minerals in it, and, it's not, um, it's not like it's reverse osmosis water where it's pure water. It's got a lot of minerals because it's been underground, it's been through rocks, and it's picked up the minerals in the rocks, and even the current technique of pumping out of this aquifer, for example, is ultimately will destroy the cropland.
So they have to filter that water?
In order to prevent that or to slow that process, you would have to cut the water with, um, uh, more pure or less salty water. And if you're
Oh.
desalinating the water, what better water to use because it doesn't
Mhm.
have any salt in it. So if you cut the salty water, and it's not salty like the sea, but if you cut some of this mineralized water out from the aquifer with some of this desalinated water, w- one, you not only save the aquifer, you're not taking as much out, so therefore it'll last longer. But two, you're saving the cropland, so it makes a lot of sense. And it makes sense to put money behind this, not only, state funds, but maybe even federal funds because, um, crop production is important to the security of the nation. If we get into wars with uh, South America, for example, we'd be in big trouble because a lot of the food industry now is pulling up. Is we get fruits and vegetables, and as we spoke about last time,
Mhm.
lettuce, for example, south of the border, and so we need to maintain our crop production here in this
Well,
country.
this article has done me the favor of revealing whole industries I didn't know existed, and some of them have to do with sensors, multiple sensors, and artificial intelligence to read water levels. In particular, there's a company called RanchBot, and this is a man who invented remote monitoring and control systems to protect elephants in Botswana. And it says that the maximizing the benefits of the Ogallala's water can extend its useful life will be quite challenging, but he's ready for the challenge. His company, RanchBot, is now headquartered in Texas, has been for a couple of years. His name is Coppin, Andrew Coppin. Staff of 40 professionals working with farmers and ranchers to ensure they have the water they need to maintain their operations. I didn't know about all this stuff. Life gets so complicated out there. Especially when you work close to the earth, it seems.
Yes, and I imagine, and I didn't look up BranchBot, but I would imagine that the whole premise of the operation of the company is to optimize water usage,
Mhm.
and
Well, they
so
can't produce water, but they can tell you what's going on with it, apparently.
and how much to use. And one of the things with agriculture. You can look at your plants and see if the leaves are wilting, then you know that you need more water. But by that time, the stress has been caused to the plant.
Mhm.
So you want to keep them happy, and so you got to have enough water, but you don't want to overutilize the water and put too much. So I think this company helps ranchers, helps farmers, for example, better utilize the water that they have so that it's more efficient. Now I use, for example, in our vineyard, moisture sensors in the ground, and I don't irrigate until the moisture gets down below a certain level, as measured by the moisture sensor, and then I do an irrigation. But I'm taking water from our pond, which is in this season is going down quite a bit, and technology like that, where you only water as much as you need and not any more than that, helps to preserve the water supply.
Can we learn anything from the Bible in this? And because farming techniques and managing the land and stewardship is part and parcel of even the Old Testament. What can we draw from that? Are there some principles, some standards of stewardship that we should be applying here?
Well, we are to be good stewards, and we're not to waste the resources that we have. I mean, that is the basic principle that we learn. And this technique of monocropping is not a good idea because if you only plant one crop, then you have to go back with usually synthetic fertilizers. They don't use natural fertilizers very much in this country unless you do organic. But then you have to go back with synthetic fertilizers, which is also causing more salt on the ground, and that process in itself will eventually poison the ground. And so, using crop rotation, using animals, for example, to help fertilize the soil, uh, and the principles that were used. I mean, just look at the Old Testament. Abraham had a lot of cattle, for example, a lot of sheep and goats, and they wouldn't graze in one area for a very long period of time. They would move from one part to the next and kind of rotate around, a large area. And by the time they got back to the area where they were grazing, the grass has grown and they've got more food for the animals, and the animals naturally fertilize, and then you got a natural cycle going on. We don't do that very much anymore, except for the sustainable farms, which are small in this country. And, doing crop rotation, we used to do crop rotation. You used to, and maybe some of the farmers still do in the Midwest, where you would grow corn one season, and in that field, you would come back with some type of beans in order to get the nitrogen back into the soil so that you could come back and grow corn at some point in time. But you would grow maybe corn, then beans, then a grass like a wheat or something, and then come back with other types of crops. And so we have the knowledge to do this, but to continually stress the land with the limited resources that we have will eventually cause major problems, and they are actually seeing this in the valley in California, where there's acres and acres, probably thousands of acres that have turned to salt
Hmm.
because they have watered and uh, um, haven't taken care of, or to think about, hey, if I water too much, if I overutilize this land, it's not going to be productive anymore. So, uh, a lot of, not a lot, but there's a certain percentage of the valley that used to produce, crops can't produce crops anymore.
There's another aspect that we haven't touched on, and I'm wondering because we're talking agriculture here, and America is blessed with billions, hundreds of millions of acres of open space yet that could be used productively. But I'm wondering about the concentrations of populations in the big cities when you have a million or more people all taking showers in the morning and filling their coffee makers and doing everything you do with water in a household or in a business or in an office building or any kind of real estate development. How does that use compare with agricultural use?
Well, it's a big problem, and it's a problem here in Texas because obviously it competes with the agricultural use. And for example, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, they want to build a tremendous subdivision with more people, living in that area. I don't know who would want to live in that area, but coming from a rural area myself, uh, they wanted to take, and still a political battle over this. They want to take water from us, from our aquifer, and pipe it to the Dallas Fort Worth area. Um, and we're putting up a fight and we're saying, no, you can't do that. This is our water for our communities and for our use. And it's not yours. So, um, these big cities wind up consuming because of the population density. Now, you asked about biblical principles. God didn't say build big cities. He said, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. And congregating in a big city is not filling the earth. And so it creates a multitude of problems. I mean, not only do you have the water issue, you have an energy issue, you have, streets and concrete buildings, which then produce a climate issue. And then the congregation, of people, the density of people creates other issues, increased crime, for example, and which means demands more, policing, and so you got areas that are ultra affluent and other areas that are you got poverty in areas, and God did not mean for us to live this way.
Does God not want us to have data centers? Thinking of the
Oh,
water
you
and
you are
electrical.
you are coming up with another topic that we can talk about,
Which
and it's all part of the global plan. Data centers. I believe that this is the data centers are going to be the mechanism by which the Antichrist gets control of the populations.
Mm.
Because think about it, you got to collect a lot of data, and you want data on every human being living on the face of the earth. And if you want to control their lives, you have to know what they're buying and what they're selling, and where they live and how they move, where they're going. And so, with the vehicles that we have today that communicate with, um, data centers basically already from the auto manufacturers, and the cell phones that tie into, again, more data being produced. Artificial intelligence will make it um, doable for tracking every human being on the face of the earth.
Well, that's scary enough, but now we're looking at uh, data centers that are being pushed out of urban areas. Nobody wants them. They want them in remote areas, which means they draw their water from places like the Ogallala Aquifer and
Yes,
other
and that would
underground
be
water. Yeah.
which puts more pressure on,
Mhm.
that aquifer, which puts more pressure on the farms and all of that other stuff.
Mm. So we should incorporate Bob Newhart method of water conservation, which is just stop it. Just
Stop it.
stop it.
The
Yeah.
speaking of the aquifer, the back in the 80s, there was and you talked, Don, about the about Dallas Fort Worth wanting some of the water. There was an organization of a number of states around the river that goes through the Grand Canyon. That's the Missouri,
Colorado River.
Colorado River.
Colorado River. Yeah, it's Colorado River Compact. And they put together a plan that was orchestrated and signed off on by the Army Corps of Engineers to establish a long ditch or a long moat or canal from the Great Lakes through the aquifer down to Arizona. It's like fifth or sixth on the choices of the plans, but I mean, there's lots of people that want our water, and we want to keep it. We'll hang on to it. Thank you.
Oh, you don't want to, come on, you got to share it, share.
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Lighten up
No, I
up
don't.
there.
No,
You got
no,
those
that's
big
not-
lakes.
That's
Come
not
on.
true. No, I don't have to share. I don't. No, I don't have to. Go ahead. Call me selfish if you want to. Go ahead.
Okay.
But I'm not sharing. It's mine. Leave me
You're-
alone.
Yourself.
Well, if you're not in the
Self-
government, you're not making the decision.
Water management. Well, God has given us some guidance, and there are a whole lot of changes the way human culture's developed. It's working against the natural order of things. So maybe some more to everybody go back to the Old Testament and start reading about those farming techniques and lifestyles and see if we can get us back on the proper course. Because if we don't do it, He will do it in short order. Yeah, it's coming. And Don, again, a member of the board of Creation Moments. That particular ministry has been around for 50, 60 years now. They produce a radio program called Creation Moments, and it talks about the biblical story of creation and the archives on their website that support all that. You can visit them at creationmoments.com. We recommend that. It's a beautiful website, very useful. You can learn stuff, and you can learn how to teach this stuff to your small groups and Bible studies. It'll be well worth a visit to creationmoments.com. Take a look. And Don, we appreciate what you bring to us, and thank you for all the knowledge you have on geology. I think we used it all.
Yes,
what
a
little
new-
I had.
a new level on the resume.
There you go.
New category.
We'll see you next week, Don. Thank you.